Thank you for supporting us on Patreon. Tonight's executive producer for the Sleepless Nights podcast is Anita Rivnik. Keep your hands and feet inside the car at all times. All systems go.
Attention Sleepless Nights. Thank you for consuming this OSI 74 product broadcast live from the Black Knight satellite. For optimum performance and safety, your host, Mr. Lobo, asks that you please listen to these instructions carefully. When in a hospital or other healthcare facility, observe the restrictions on the use of electronic devices. Switch off before boarding an aircraft to prevent interference with communications systems. Do not operate this device in the presence of flammable gases or fumes, chemical plants, or where blasting operations are in progress. Always listen hands-free while driving a vehicle. Failure to observe these instructions may lead to immediate termination. It's time now for the show to begin. Thank you. Have a very pleasant evening.
You're not dreaming. You're listening to the Sleepless Nights podcast. I am your host, Mr. Lobo, and this is part 3 of our Blobcast. I am not sitting here with Paul Sanders, who is still the pantsless producer, who is still floating out in deep space. I am here with the lovely Dixie Delamorto Lobo, who is my bride.
Still?
Still, as far as we know.
Legally speaking.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. We share rooms.
Yep.
That's all. Our marriage has been dead for years.
I love you. Oh, man.
And I'm also here with my new assistant, Wendy Sows. Wendy, say hello to the knights out there.
Hello.
Wendy, what's it like being Mr. Lobo's assistant?
It's a never-ending adventure of I don't know what.
A lot of I don't know what. Yeah. Mr. Lobo's not an easy person to assist. I'm not an easy, I don't follow directions and I don't give good directions. So I'm very bad at being someone, assisting other people, and I'm very bad at being assisted.
It's true.
So this is an extra challenge. We're working through it, but I think it's going to ultimately result in greater productivity going forward.
We're ironing out all the wrinkles.
Mm-hmm. If you were at the Blobcast, or if you were at the Blobfest online this year, or the home edition of Blobfest, you got to see Dixie Delamorto and Wendy Sows as Nurse Death and Nurse Dread.
That's right.
And Nurse Rodan. 2 of our unregistered nurses, or sleepless nightingales, as they are sometimes called. And we also had Nurse Death in part of the Spook Show, and Nurse Doom.
Yes.
So we have a whole plethora of Spook Show nurses happening.
We also had Nurse Manslaughter.
Yes, our first male nurse, played by Ryan Hickey, who also did the Bela Lugosi's Ghost of Lugosi makeup. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So if you haven't had a chance to see the Blobfest Spook Show, too bad, because there's no way to buy a ticket to see it now if you haven't already seen it.
Wah, wah.
Hopefully we will be integrating all of that material into a Cinema Insomnia, full-length Cinema Insomnia episode for the future. Wendy has helped us out at a lot of Blobcasts prior to this year.
Do you say Blobcasts or Blobfest?
Blobfest, sorry.
This is too confusing.
It is confusing. Too many blobs. Wendy, I think you have attended Blobfest for a long time, right?
Yes.
What was your first year doing Blobfest?
I remember the first one I was only outside because we did not know there was a show inside.
Oh, wow.
And we were just told, hey, people are running out of the theater pretending they're being chased by the blob. Want to go see it? I'm like, okay. So I went down, dragged my son, and we saw, like, it looked like maybe 100 people, maybe. Running out all in costumes. There was a gorilla. I remember seeing a bunch of girls in pool skirts. I saw lots of popcorn being thrown around Bridge Street.
Awesome. And that's what was free in those days.
It was,
right?
well, we didn't even know there was a show. Mm-hmm. And I think only maybe like 40, 50 people were outside on Bridge Street watching it all go down.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
They didn't have any police barricades to keep us on the sidewalk or anything like that. It was really low key.
Standing in the road.
Amazing.
Yeah. I think there was a blurb about it in the local paper back then, and that was it. And then we're like, well, how do we get inside the theater to run out of the theater was the quest that we all had. So then we found out there was a show, and it was free, but it was first come, first serve. So I want to say the first time I went and saw the run out was 2001. And by 2002, I missed it because it was first come, first serve, and I didn't leave work early. So if you weren't there by 3 o'clock, you weren't getting in.
Okay.
Because the line went all the way down. You know where the Colonial is.
Yeah, of course.
I think the line went around the corner.
Wow, that's amazing. Literally a line around the block.
Yeah.
Dixie, you have something to share with the rest of us?
I don't know. I wasn't paying attention.
You just are looking at your phone in the middle of the pod. We can't even make it through a 10-minute segment.
It's after my bedtime.
All right, ladies and gentlemen.
Thought my volume was down.
So Wendy is a Phoenixville resident, so she has firsthand experience as a fan of Blobfest. And then I met Wendy at several conventions. I remember seeing her at RetroCon and other conventions like that, always in great costumes like Oogie Boogie or Emperor Mouse.
Thank you.
Krampus, you know.
She was Krampus at one of the Blobfest shows.
Yes, and then we ended up inviting her to be part of. We wanted to have Chuck consumed by ghouls for one of the runouts, or I should say, Dash Daring attacked by ghouls for the runout. And so we had a fantastic kind of situation where the theater was haunted, and we had people in costumes creeping up behind him, and then and then they chase him off the screen, and then we sort of do the old spook show gag where they get chased off the screen, but then they're in the audience, and you see them, you see Chuck running out and him being chased by monsters in real life after you saw them on the screen. So that was kind of fun to do that sort of Monsters Crash the Pajama Party sort of gag in real life with Wendy. And that was probably the first Blobfest collaboration for us, right? Mm-hmm. Yes. So,
but Pumpkin Ghoul there too?
No.
Oh, it was a Reaper, right?
Brandon
was
the Reaper.
Yeah, Grim Reaper, and then Mr. Lobo's son Dylan was the bug guy.
Yes.
And then there were others.
That's right. Oh, do we have time to read a letter? Oh, we do. Okay. Well, Blobfest means a lot of people. We have a costume contest every year at Blobfest. Wendy's a costume maker. And just does a lot of stuff for...
I was trying to turn it off. I'm sorry.
A lot of stuff for the show, Cinema Insomnia, and now she's helping me as an assistant. I wanted to read this letter because we're going to be interviewing Kat, who's also another regular from Blobfest. I read this on the watch party last weekend, and I want to share this before we have our show play my interview with her. Dear Mr. Lobo, things have been kind of crazy this year, huh? Luckily, there are things like Cinema Insomnia to keep us grounded. I would like to be a part of that. I want to learn how to do what you do. God help you. I am willing to see if you could give me, or I'm writing to see if you were to give me any tips or tricks as to how to become a horror host. Please don't. Stay in school. As at least a place to begin. Getting to see you at Blobfest each year and dressing up to do my dumb little skit is honestly the best feeling. I want to do more things like that. I want to talk about movies and dress up in fun outfits and make jokes. I want to be a place where people can turn to when they are feeling down, and be reminded that everything in life isn't as dark as it may seem. You always say they aren't bad movies, they're just misunderstood. And I think that is really profound. With everything that is going on right now, I think it is more important than ever to really look at things and give them the benefit of the doubt. So many people get clumped into these groups labeled as bad or problematic when they are just normal people trying to stand up for what's right. And I'm going to skip a little bit because we're running out of time. But thank you so much for all you do. I have a poster hanging by the end of my bed, so every day when I wake up and see you, I know it's okay to be me and give others a chance to be them. Any help you could give me would be awesome. Stay spooky, Cat. So obviously this is a very special kid, and obviously doesn't need any advice from Mr. Lobo because she's got her head on straight. But we interviewed her, Cat, and got some of her reflections about Blobfest. And so let's listen to that when we come back from the break.
You are under my power. Look into the hypnotic eye. Time to enter Mr. Lobo's domain. Open your mind to the possibility that they're not bad movies. You're not dreaming. You're watching Mr. Lobo's Not Quite Midnight Spook Show at the beautiful and historic Colonial Theater in Phoenixville, Pennsylvania.
You're not dreaming. You're listening to the Sleepless Knights podcast, and I'm here with Miss Cat, a longtime attendee of Blobfest and costume contest entrant and winner. Hello, Cat. How are you?
Hello. I'm doing great. How are you?
We're doing fantastic. We are just coming down from Blobfest 2020, which was totally different than any other Blobcast heretofore. Did you watch the Blobcast home edition?
I watched the Blob all 3 times. It was.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was a lot.
That's dedication. You watched the Blob 3 times? Now, how long have you been going to Blobfest just overall?
Probably 6 years.
6 years?
Trying to count it by how many t-shirts I have. Every year I go, I get a t-shirt.
And how old do you think you were at that first Blobfest?
I must have been like 12.
Wow, because I feel like we've just seen you grow up from a baby. You've entered the contest how many times? 6 years worth?
I think 5.
All 6?
I think I did
5.
the first time. Yeah.
And you've won quite a few times, or placed quite a few times.
Yep. I've only won one, but I've placed more than that.
Yeah, well, you always were a standout at the costume contest, which is done on Bridge Street during the street fair, which is an amazing thing to experience, don't you think?
Oh, it's wonderful. There's the whole town comes together.
Yeah, it's unlike anything else, and some of those costumes are incredible. I mean, way over the top, way over the top.
The first year I went when I didn't compete, they had a Robo Godzilla and a Godzilla who ended up winning that year, and they were amazing. They were like huge.
Oh yeah. I think, did they have a Mothra too, or did they just have?
Yeah, they did. They had a Mothra. You're right. Forgot about that.
Yeah, and yes, Mecha Godzilla for the nerds wincing at home at Robo Godzilla.
My apologies.
We just want those guys to just relax. So I just put it out there, Mecha Godzilla. And you've had some fantastic ones. Like I think of you as Ellen Ripley from Alien.
Yes, we still have the face hugger hanging up in my kitchen.
And that was your second year doing that?
Third year.
Third. And then I do remember you as Tippi Hedren with the birds.
That was really fun. The birds.
And did you have birds jumping out of your purse or something? Somehow?
Yeah, I had spring-loaded birds in my purse. My handbag full of birds came out.
That is incredible. And the one that I think, well, and I really loved you as Alta. You were looking for Robbie the robot.
Yeah.
And was that your first place?
That was a second place, I want to say.
Second place?
My first place was when I did Psycho, but the whole reason I was looking for Robbie,
yeah.
I tried making a Robbie robot in my garage, and that did not work out well. Did not work out well at all. I was like, okay.
I think it cost them $1 million to make Robbie the robot in the 50s. That is not an easy costume to put together by anyone.
Out of paper mache, it was just not holding together.
Yeah, we've got a friend, Scott, who's got a Robbie replica. One of these days we'll have to get you with that Robbie replica.
Yeah.
But I thought that one was really amazing because you were handing out all these, have you seen my robot flyers all over. And that sort of interactivity I thought was great.
When Dash started announcing that the costume contest happening, his back paper was the flyer for Robbie Robot.
Psycho one was really wild because you were just in the shower, which again, there's a level of vulnerability there. You're already, I think you're in a towel.
Yeah.
Right. And then you're in a fake shower, a whole fake shower with a shower curtain, right?
And we had a puppet that Seth and Knife would had a little
yeah.
to make a blood squirt. So it was really that year we were thinking, we remembered that y'all really liked when I did Tippy. We were like, all right, what's another Hitchcock thing that we can do? And we were like, okay, and we should incorporate puppets because puppets really seem to get people's attention. So we were just going through all the different types of options, and we were like, we have puppets stabbing you in the shower. We can make a shower like in Karate Kid, and it just came to us. It was really fun.
Now you're saying we? Do you mean mom and dad, or who's helping you out?
My mom and I will help put videos together.
Really incredible, and that's wonderful that you have supportive parents that will, help you be naked in a shower on stage.
Yeah.
Really fantastic. No, really, seriously. And definitely, that participation, I think, is such a big part of Blobfest. And you embodied that with your participation in the costume contest. Nothing quite like it. You did the online version, which of course wasn't the same kind of participation.
No, but we had the Discord server, which I remember chatting. It was really fun.
Yeah, the chatting was really great. I really enjoyed that. It was great to see everyone's reaction to the spook show when we had the spook show happen.
That was an experience. I really like the way that you guys did that. I wasn't sure how you were going to pull it off, but you really did.
So were you there in the dark for the live spook shows for the 60th anniversary and the 20th anniversary of the fest?
We went to the spook show last year. We didn't get to the other one.
Impossible to capture on video. We've actually shot that on video twice. And both times we felt walking away from it that, if we made this a Cinema Insomnia episode or something, it wouldn't quite convey what it feels like to be in that room with those things happening.
Going on. You have to get one of those 360 cameras and put it in VR. And
I still think it would be hard to capture the feel of it.
Yeah.
So I thought for the Blobfest Spook Show, the home edition, that we would just approach it like a show and just film it like a show, and try to work with our strengths versus working with a weakness, and try to get it something that maybe had the same spirit, but was more of a on-screen experience.
Right. You guys did a really good job with it. I was really impressed.
Well, that makes me feel better. Thank you. No, I think it turned out well. I think everyone did an amazing job. It was definitely a team effort. And it was nice to be able to focus just on that part of the show and not try to, be on my feet for 3 days straight, like a typical Blobfest of the past. But you know, it's a hard thing to experience. I mean, it's a hard thing to describe. I mean, do you ever try to tell your friends, oh yeah, you got to do this thing called Blobfest? And what kind of reaction do you get when you describe it?
So every year, like the Sunday after Blobfest would traditionally be when I would go to summer camp. And this is the first year that I haven't gone to summer camp, but I would always wear my Blobfest shirt or shirts throughout the week. And I would always get questions like, hey, so what is Blobfest? And I'd have to tell them, first of all, what the blob was. So I have to explain, like, oh, it's this movie that, you know.
It's this movie from 1958. Yeah. Wow. You got to go back all the way to the beginning, right?
It's this jelly monster from space, you know.
Wow.
And the whole town just comes together and creates this big phenomenon. It's something you really got to experience in order to like figure out. And then we have all these vendors and people dressing up and like sideshow performers. Crazy.
I want to talk a little bit about why I'm talking to you today. I mean, obviously, you know, we have tens of thousands of people who attend Blobfest, but you reached out to me and wrote a very wonderful letter about, God help you, wanting to be a horror host. And being interested in doing creative work, and how much cinema insomnia is kind of a safe, safe place to be. That's not really the right way of saying that. Or that how the Blobfest experience, you know, has been important to you and help and instrumental in maybe making you choose to be a performer, right, of some sort.
Right. It makes me feel so much more confident as well. Like it's a good confidence boost to go out there and just have people be like cheering for you and happy no matter like what happens. Like I've had years where I'm like, oh my gosh, I totally flopped it, and everyone's still like, oh my gosh, that was amazing.
Yeah, the cheers, right? That's the hottest audience you're ever gonna find is a Blobfest audience. Yeah. And they love you no matter what.
Like every year, it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. I remember last year, before we had to do all this like at home stuff, it was just huge. The entire street was full almost.
Oh yeah, you could hardly move down Bridge Street.
Crazy.
It was crazy, and it's nice to be in a place where you feel accepted and appreciated. And, you know, everyone is there to have a good time. And I just think that, you know, there's nothing like that, you know, and like I said, the fact that the silliness that we've created would inspire you at all, I feel is very humbling. And I'm very happy that you would trust us enough to want to write us and tell us what you want to do. And, you know, I think it just speaks to all of it and why doing these sorts of things is important, you know, on a personal level, because a community is a community, but a community is people, you know, and if you're not reaching people and making a difference, then, you know, you're not serving that community, right?
Exactly. And I mean, like, especially with all this COVID nonsense, like cinema insomnia is just a peaceful place to go when you don't like want to have to think about all the craziness that's going on right now.
On cinema insomnia, at least, not to talk about depressing current events almost ever. For the podcast, COVID, all references to COVID will be referred to as chronic diarrhea.
Chronic diarrhea, got it. That's why everyone's buying up the toilet paper. That's
right. That's why all the toilet paper's flying off the shelf. It's not that those events aren't, the current events aren't important. It's not that the issues aren't important. It's just that everyone needs an escape sometimes, especially if we're going to stay sane through all of this. Kat, I appreciate so much that you would reach out. Like I said, I wanted to give you a shot to be a part of the podcast just as a good faith thing to just say, you know, hey, we're listening to you. Thank you so much for reaching out. And, you know, hopefully we'll be collaborating on some fun projects, maybe a Cinema Insomnia episode in the future.
That sounds great. It's been amazing getting to talk to you. It's like such an honor that you even reached out after reading my letter.
Well, thank you so much, Kat, and thank you for attending Blobfest and being so dedicated. And best to you in the future, and all systems go. We come from the retro future. We want you to be nostalgic for what's to come. A new channel and distribution network for smart people with bad taste, featuring content from Church of the Subgenius, Creature Features, Cinema, Insomnia, Sleazy P. Martini and Guar, Trauma, Corey Maccabee, horror, sci-fi, Saturday morning cartoons, midnight movies, and assorted trash we love. Add our channel OSI74 to your Roku player or visit OSI74.com. All systems go. Blonde bombshell Alex Doll, the Atomic Doll, is a sideshow performer and producer of the Stay Inside show on OSI 74. We talked to her about her experiences as Miss Blobfest 2018. You're not dreaming. We are in Hollywood, USA, in a little silver tin can with Alex Doll, the Atomic Doll, a.k.a. Miss Blobfest 2018. Hello, Alex. How are you?
Hello, Mr. Lobo. I'm great. How are you?
We're doing fabulous. We're having a great time talking about all things Blobfest weekend. Did you get to enjoy any of the Blobfest online experience this year?
I did. I'm actually still taking it in, just kind of systematically, since I didn't get to watch it along with everybody else. I'm here on the West Coast and I've been traveling, so I got to watch the Friday night show very, very late in the evening on Friday, and it was very, very wonderful. And I think I messaged Dash Daring at whatever o'clock in the morning while slightly inebriated, just effusively happy about how it all came together. So I still have to take in the spook show, which I'm very excited about. But it was nice to kind of just meet up with everybody yesterday for our hangover edition recap of the weekend.
The post Blobfest hangout, where we sort of talked about really what an amazing success this very we were kind of worried about it, if this was something that was even going to translate into an online experience for people. And by all accounts, it seems like people had a great time. And I think we had a great time because I think everybody was focused on what we could do and how we can connect versus what we can't do, and how it's different, So I thought you and Melissa Tapley and Suzanne Ferner and Dixie Delamorto Lobo did an amazing job with the Miss Blobfest Zoom experience that was part of Friday night's show. I mean, what an amazing collection of ladies. Now, I feel like Miss Blobfest has become like more than just I feel like we just get more Miss Blobfest. Like we don't change Miss Blobfest. We just now have more of them.
Yeah, no, it's definitely, what do the kids say these days? Hashtag squad goals, I think. I'm pretty sure that's where we're at right now. I think we've got a pretty good cadre of folks. I also thought that your rendition of the Miss Blobfest theme song this year was probably my favorite. So just,
Yeah, probably your favorite rendition, because I didn't actually sing and no one could hear me because I was mute.
It was a lot of very aggressive pantomiming, and I was there for it. It was great.
Well, it was nice to be part of it somehow. I got to be on screen with all of my favorite ladies, so it was very, very exciting to just be a fly on the wall and to see all of you interact. Because obviously, I was not only was I not singing out loud because Dixie was in the same room with me doing her part.
You're giving away the movie magic and how
oh.
all of this came together.
Whoops. We'll fix that. We'll wind the tape back and we won't discuss it.
Yeah, this was just nothing but high quality special effects and just the millions that were spent on bringing this weekend together. I mean, people wouldn't believe.
We spared no expense. we incurred no expense, but we spared no expense. What a thing, huh? I mean, what was the first? When did Blobfest first come on your radar?
So I was not aware of Blobfest until friends of mine, Mina and Jamie, had let us know that they had gone to this festival, and they'd been going for years. And they brought us to the festival in 2017. I think I missed it in 2016 after we found out about it, and then they brought us there in 2017. And that year, let's see, Michael Graves was there, and
of the Misfits.
Mm-hmm. And who else was there that year? I know that Gula Gogo was there because that's when I met Kevin, which was amazing. And in fact, I think when we met and how we met was when he picked me up outside of the Colonial Theater, and Chorus or someone else shot this amazing photo of him, as Creighton, picking me up, swooping me off my feet in my 50s dress right in front of the Colonial. It's still one of my favorite photos of Blobfest.
I feel like that's one of the classic photos of all time. It's like that kiss with the sailor. I feel like it's one of those amazing photos where you have a giant hunchback from an old horror movie somehow carrying this amazing Barbie doll of a person. It's great.
Oh, I loved it. I just felt like every time I look at it, it transports me out of wherever I am back to that moment. And it was just such a wonderful, wonderful image and a wonderful moment to kind of punctuate, I think, what I felt the whole weekend of the festival. I mean, there's the first Blob Ball that I went to, and it was at a different place that year too. And it was just really wonderful. The theme continued all over town, which also shocked me because I had no frame of reference for Phoenixville before then. So getting to know the town, the first stop that we made actually was Downington Diner. So we did that before we even went into town. And that was a really cool snapshot of, as we inched closer to the Colonial, you could see more and more of the entire populace getting in on the fun, which I thought was really amazing. Then when you're in Phoenixville proper, just the street and every single business and all the things that they do to kind of, from themed cocktails to their storefronts, just get in on the action. It's something that everybody there seems to enjoy in the purest sense. And there's not this overwhelming sense of fandom or posturing like we were talking about yesterday with the group. It's really just people that are there to have a good time and be inclusive and make everyone feel as enthusiastic as they are about what's happening and what's going on, and just sharing and trading excitement. It's just, I don't know, I loved it. And then when I found out about the Miss Blobfest contest in 2017 when I attended, that gave me that much more to look forward to in 2018, which was the next year that I came back to the festival.
And I think I had met you briefly that first year because you had your mohawk, right? Didn't you have your mohawk in those days?
I can't remember if I did or not. I think I didn't, but there was a reason we met, and I forget what it was. I think it might have been we had a friend in common on the channel, and I think I introduced myself to you. I can't remember, but I remember that we did meet. And I may have been talking to Creighton. I mean, that might have been when that happened. But I was excited to meet you, and I was excited to meet everybody and kind of just see how this all came together, because that was the other piece of it that was fascinating to me. It was like, how does this happen? How does everybody get in on this action?
Very dynamic. I remember the first time you met, when I met you, or you met me, or we met each other.
And you gave me your business card or something, and it says Alex Dahl, the Atomic Doll, and I'm like, wow, this is an individual who's really driven and has goals and is branding themselves and is kind of putting themselves out there to do great things. That was my impression of you.
Oh, I appreciate that. I would say the same of you in return. I mean, to be fair, you are literally a living, breathing, walking brand, and you were out there representing Cinema Insomnia and Blobfest, and you had OSI on the hook. I mean, everything was out there, very in your face, like, go see Lobo if you want to know anything about these things. And I wanted to know everything about all of those things. So I was very excited to meet you.
Oh, thank you. That's very kind of you to say. And it was very great to see you the year that you ran for Miss Blobfest. And the thing that I always felt about Miss Blobfest is that it had to be a person that could be who could become part of the troupe. Because I always felt like, the stage show is just one show and we're all part of it. So whoever is coming on board has got to be ready to play and ready to have fun and ready to be part of this silly universe that we're creating. So I felt that, you were a perfect addition to that cast.
Thank you. I'm going to briefly turn off my AC in the Airstream. I'm having loud trailer problems. It's very, very loud as soon as my AC kicks on in here, so it should kick off in a second. Apologies for that. No, it's funny, when I had applied to be Miss Blobfest in 2018, I was so excited about it. I kind of have this weird obsession with vintage Miss pageants. I wrote all about it in my blog, which I think I posted before. It might have been after my coronation, so to speak, which is a funny thing in and of itself because I didn't actually get to wear the crown, but I'll get there. When I had applied, I was so excited. I put all this effort into the video, and it was just all the anticipation leading up to the day. And then that particular year, the day that we'd find out who the winner was, it was Friday the 13th. And so I think I sent you this post. I posted on Facebook that day a piece about triskaidekaphobia, which is a fear of the number 13. And then about Friday the 13th and just all of the lore and phobia and psychoanalytics that go along with it. And I was like, man, if I get to achieve becoming a miss in this kind of throwback pageant on Friday the 13th, I won't be able to handle it. Because there was a Miss Friday the 13th too. I mean, they had they even had that. They had a pageant for everything back in the day. I think that was the internet before there was internet, which is like, let's brand the hell out of every single thing that we have, and just make it an event.
There's a great picture of my idol, Bob Wilkins, as a horror host, standing with a young lady in a bathing suit with a sash that says, Miss Sci-Fi Film.
Oh my God.
And I thought, what do you got to do to be Miss Sci-Fi Film? That sounds fabulous.
That's amazing. I would die for that title, and also just to stand next to Bob Wilkins, because I had the biggest crush on him. Him and Rod Serling were my two just dastardly handsome. I can't even handle it.
There's something about a spectral narrator that just drives the women wild.
It's true. It's true. I mean, look in the mirror.
You're trying to make me blush on a podcast. That's not fair. Well, I thought it was it was great. I thought you fit the kitschiness. I think you mentioned you're a sideshow performer, but for your talent, would you tell us about what you did for your talent, for the talent portion of the Miss Blobfest festivities?
Yeah, so So for the people who, if they watch, which episode is it in? Because I was going to plug it for you here, but I can't remember the title of it.
I think it's the Cinema Insomnia Goes to Blobfest.
Yeah, and so in that episode, you'll be able to see it, but I go up on stage, and for those who haven't met me, I'm a sideshow performer, producer. It's, if you're not familiar with the term sideshow, there's I'm sure a failure of a Wikipedia page on it. But I came up there. I was introduced. I think you introduced me, and then maybe Joan. I can't remember. Sorry, excuse me. Dr. I'm a Hack. There you go. Thank you. So I came up on stage, and there's this talent portion, and I decided to bring the most portable act I could with me. So I brought it's not a nail. Typically this act is done with a nail, but it was a human blockhead. So I had this big, long, it was this soft metal rod, for lack of a better word. This is about almost a foot long that I then shoved into my skull. And it's funny because now I feel like so much of the world's population has a frame of reference for exactly what this is like now that COVID testing is a thing, because it's basically the same mechanism.
Wait, hold on. On the podcast, we don't say COVID, we say chronic diarrhea.
Ooh, I'm sorry. So chronic diarrhea of the face, of the skull. I mean, yeah, that. So yes. And so basically because of that.
So for the chronic diarrhea testing, they have to put a long spike. No?
Well, see, now I want to equate it with this less. Now that we've shifted the terminology, it's a little less ladylike. But yeah. So yeah, you just basically you follow your nasal passage. It's an anatomical old school sideshow act. So I did that, and it definitely eked a lot of people out. And I feel like it was the right crowd for it, though. I mean, typically Blobfest has sideshow performers. My friends from Old City Sideshow have been performing at the festival for years, so they were another connection that I had to the festival before I came out. And I think they were still there in 2017, so I got to see them perform. 2018 they were not there, but so it was safe to do. It was safe to do a dumb thing on stage without infringing on potential act they'd do the day following. But yeah, so there's always been a sideshow tilt, it seems, to Blobfest, however
sure.
Unofficial.
On the street fair, yeah, definitely that has been a component off and on, certainly. Yeah, and you did another sideshow act for us for our very first spook show, for the right, wasn't it the very first one?
Yeah, I think that one I did razor blade eating. I think I tied razor blades with my tongue and then produced them without profusely bleeding from the mouth. So that's the feat in and of itself.
That's pretty great. That's a step up from Audrey Horne in Twin Peaks tying a cherry stem, which I saw you also do when we were at the Brown Cow ice cream shop.
Yes, yeah, because I have a whole act that's themed around that exact thing. I do it to the Audrey's Dream dance song, and I start out by tying a cherry stem in a knot, and then I escalate to razors. So like you do,
Of course,
cherry stems are the gateway drug to razor blade tying.
I remember backstage, you're like, all right, hold my dental floss, hold my razors. I'm going to come out. You're going to, you help present me. I'm like, okay. What are we doing? Okay. Yes, let's do this.
Just go with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it was great. I loved it. Another thing, and I realize this is only somewhat tangentially related to Blobfest, but I feel like it's worth mentioning that Tony Cadaver hosts a Halloween, I forget how they titled it, but it's basically a tangential show at the Pickering Creek Inn that happens. And I think he's been seen around town in a lucha libre mask. Luchador mask?
Yes, sure. Luchador mask. Mm-hmm.
But I have a ton of fun, going to that. And that's another thing I'm very sad that I missed out on this year. Obviously, it's not something that they could have But it's a lot of fun. It's the Halloween tribute of terror, I think they call it. And it's just a way for people to, go enjoy punk rock bands and cover music. And they, at the end of the night, typically it's the Misfits cover band that he fronts, which is wonderful. So that year that Michael Graves was there in 2017, it was like such a thematically perfect, on point event. But yeah, so 2018, I did that, and then I won. But when I mentioned I didn't get to wear the crown, it's because I lack support, I guess, in the form of hair on the side of my head, as both the sides of my head is shaved. So I was just holding the crown up while also trying to navigate my way around the stage during the song You Sung Me, which I loved. It was another of my favorite moments of Blobfest past.
There she oozed, Miss Blob Festival. Well, thank you so much, Alex, for giving a little bit of taste, a little bit of flavor of Blobfest from your point of view. It is certainly an event unlike any other, and I think it's this implied participation across the whole community in this inclusion of so many different people from so many different places, but yet all feeling at home somehow with each other. It's a great thing. Thank you so much, Alex Dahl. Of course, we know you as one of our Miss Blobfest squadron, but you were so much more than that, and I'm sure we could have you, if you were willing, have you come back and we could talk about a whole bunch of crazy, silly, kitschy things.
I can't wait. This is so great. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for making Blobfest magical again this year. However virtual it was incredible. So thank you again.
Thank you, and all systems go.
This is Mr. Lobo live at Blobfest with the Atomic Doll, Alex Doll. You are Miss Blobfest this year.
I am Miss Blobfest this year, yes.
How does that feel?
It feels amazing. Larger than life.
Absolutely. I think you are a perfect Miss Blobfest, if you don't mind me saying so.
So much. Thank you. Thank you.
And you having fun today? You getting to meet and greet people?
I am having a lot of fun. I've gotten to meet a lot of really amazing, weird, and incredible human beings that I want to absorb into the folds of my blobby magic.
I don't know if we can say any of that on television. And what do you like the best about Blobfest just in general?
I love how incredibly genuine and true to form Blobfest is. There's nothing like it anywhere out there. You'll only find the amazing magic that is Blobfest here in Phoenixville, PA.
I can't imagine that's being better said. Thank you so much, Alex Dahl, for being with us and sharing a little bit of your very valuable time, because everybody wants a picture with you here today. So maybe we could get you on Cinema Insomnia sometime. Does that sound like a good idea?
I would love to be on Cinema Insomnia.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Alex Dahl, and thank you. And now this is Mr. Lobo and
Alex Dahl,
the Atomic Doll, signing off.
We're back with Nurse Dread and Nurse Rodan, a.k.a. Dixie Delamorto Lobo and Wendy Soes, Mr. Lobo's personal assistant. We love Blobfest, don't we? I mean, it's just such a great yearly event. You talked a little bit about the time before Mr. Lobo. Do you remember the first show you saw with Mr. Lobo hosting on Blobfest, Wendy?
I remember the first time I saw you on the stage, but you weren't hosting. And I think it was a year or two later that you actually took over hosting duties of the show. And if I may, there was a time when Blobfest was a free show on Friday night. Again, like I was saying before, it was first come, first serve. So if you didn't get there early enough, you couldn't actually go in because they ran out of space. And then by the time you came on, they started charging. And they made a few changes to the show. But the changes were night and day. Like when it was a free show, it was kind of, and with love, I'm saying this because we loved it. It was very campy. It was very. It seemed like they were making up as they go, but it worked. I mean, for a free night out, it was awesome. And when you came on, it seemed more of a actual show, you know.
Well, thank you.
Like how do I put that? Like there's actually thought into it. It doesn't seem like it's being done this, you know, at the seat of your pants. And
Well, for example, my first year going to Blobfest as a wee tot, I wasn't much of a tot, but
like a tater tot.
yeah, like a major tater, like a major tater. Yeah, no, my first year they had a screaming contest for a solid 45 minutes.
yes, I remember that year.
Every single person in the audience wanted to go on stage and scream into a microphone. And then half of those same people went back up on stage for the tinfoil hat contest. It literally, like, half of the night was tinfoil hat contest and screaming contest. It was bedlam. If it weren't for Gula Gogo and the Neanderthals coming in every once in a while and just playing a song and making everybody dance, it would be completely unlivable. It was, yeah. It was an experience.
I know that they were very resistant to screaming contests or doing anything with the tinfoil hats in the theater.
And that's probably why.
When I came in, I thought, well, this is part of the show. And I was always able to reel it in where it's like, okay, we'll have 3 people come up and scream and have the audience.
Yeah, if you set up some rules on the front end, just say, who wants to scream, come on up.
Yeah, no. And I, they didn't have a stage manager and stuff like that. There were certain things that when I came on, I was like, you really need someone that's their only job is to make sure people are getting on and off the stage and they have the whole rundown of the show. And to their credit, I mean, they're people, this is a community that's come together to run a theater. Yep. These are not people who put on stage productions and shows and film festivals. And so it was actually kind of nice to be so needed that my advice was listened to and it was really great that they were so willing to collaborate and make adjustments to the show. I mean, one of the things was they just had that giant screen behind them. And I'm like, is there any way we could interact with that screen? We should talk to someone up on that screen or do something with that screen and make that part of the story, part of the narrative of the night. And
I feel like they just had ads on it while we were doing the show. I don't know if that's correct, but I just feel like there'd be like an ad for like a local window replacement place.
Anderson Windows.
Yeah.
Home of Anderson Windows.
Some guy with an acoustic guitar and a ventriloquist dummy, things like that. I always remember, like, that's like 99% of my memories of Blobfest is like an endless cycle of local ads
on the giant screen. Well, it hasn't been like that for a long time.
No.
Blobfest has always been amazing. Do you both want to say something just encapsulating your feelings about Blobfest overall? It
is kind of magical when you see everybody coming together to just like have fun and play. Like, I feel like a bunch of I remember my first year, I took a picture of a guy without shoes. He wasn't wearing shoes, wearing tight pants, an enormous tinfoil hat, playing the clarinet. Just standing in the street. And I remember thinking, wow, that guy is singing the song of his people. And I felt like, I think literally that was the caption on the picture. I was like, these are my people. I found a bunch of real weird people that are all here for like this goofy sci-fi movie that I think first time I saw the Blob, I was like 5 or 6 at a friend's, like with their friend's dad who liked old sci-fi movies.
Yeah.
Like, ew, they're boring. And I'm like, I'm just going to go watch movies with your dad. I don't care. So, and that was the first time. And then the next time was at Blobfest. So I just had like this crazy wave of nostalgia. I don't know. I went all over the place with that.
That's all right. Wendy?
I think my experience is, well, yeah, I mean, I got to see it go from like this, again, this free local community theater type thing where they felt like they made a part of it as they went along, which was absolutely fine for us, to what became, and maybe on both sides, both in the audience and behind
And
the
this
stage.
is mostly the Friday show that you're talking about.
Yeah, I'm talking about the
now.
Friday show.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it evolved into, like I said, a well-crafted, you know, entertainment show where it's worth paying money to come in to see, you know. As far as it evolving all together over the years, like the street fair, the costume contest, all that, it's just gotten bigger and bigger. And I mean, I think the first year I actually saw the street fair, I think it was like just the block where the Colonial is. And then it's just, you know, blossomed. Of course, that means now you can't find parking.
Yeah.
Honestly, my first year I had a hard time finding parking, and it wasn't that big. I actually used for the longest time just parked on the same street every year because it was far away. It was a long walk in July, super hot, but it was worth it to not have to keep driving around looking for it. So
I used to know where the farmers market was, and it happened the exact same time as the street fair. So I would always just park at the farmers market.
Yeah.
Throw enough money in for the day and say, okay, we're good.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what they're going to do if it gets much bigger once chronic diarrhea has ended and we're back to business as usual on Bridge Street. It's going to be like Comic-Con where it just takes over the whole town.
I mean, it's already on its way to doing that. I mean, that's like the cultural center of the whole town. The rest of it's kind of residential, right?
Yeah.
Pretty much.
So once it's down that whole street, if they could get it all the way down Bridge Street, that would be
pretty amazing, actually. It gets bigger and bigger and more involved. And, you know, with the online edition, which I hope that they keep as a component next year when we cross our fingers, are all together again. You know, it's going to be for the world, you know, so that's an exciting thing. So thank you so much. Next week, we're going to have our conclusion of our 4-week Blobfest, Blobcast. So this is Blobcast 2.4 next week.
whoa.
Yeah. So next week, we're going to be talking to this year's Miss Blobfest, Melissa Tapley.
Oh.
Yay, Melissa. So thank you, Wendy and Dixie. And thank you for joining us. I really appreciate you talking to the Blobcast with us. You have been listening to the Sleepless Nights podcast, or should we say, pODDcast. pODDcast. Emphasis on the odd. Our theme is by Mars Homeworld at Dead House Music. Our opening announcement is by Ophelia Necro. She does a radio show called Suicide Watch. And you could reach Mr. Lobo at cinemainsomnia.com. Or find me on YouTube, YouTube/Mr. Lobo, MISTERLOBO. Mr. Lobo on Facebook, Facebook/MR.LOBO. Or on Twitter, at Mr. Lobo, MISTERLOBO.
Or you can find myself, Paul Sanders, or better known as Bestow TV, at Bestow.tv. On YouTube /Bestow TV. On Twitter, at Bestow Prod, PROD. And on Facebook, Bestow TV.
If you want to place an advertisement with this podcast, and gosh, why wouldn't you? We could be talking about you right now. Contact us, Mr. Lobo at cinemainsomnia.com. That's MRLOBO @CINEMAINSOMNIA.com. Or support us on Patreon. Patreon supporters get to hear this podcast before anyone else and a lot of other great stuff, right, Paul?
Sure.
Doesn't get it better than that, right? So come join the fun at
patreon.com/Sleepless Nights Podcast.
That's
patreon.com/Sleepless Nights Podcast.
Please stay up with us next week for another Sleepless Nights podcast. Or should we say, pODDcast.
pODDcast.
The best thing about being an insomniac is never having to say goodnight.
Good night.